Mugen Senshi Valis. For the two of you out there that just applauded, we're on the same page. For those that didn't or have no idea what I'm talking about, let me elaborate. It's a series of side-scrolling action platformers by Telenet Japan that graced many consoles throughout the years. While it proved popular in its native country of Japan, the reception abroad was far less enthusiastic. Yes, that means most of these games did in fact receive US releases. And we're going to start this retrospective at the exact same place I started, the Sega Genesis. Like most that grew to love this game, I stumbled across it long after its heyday. In fact, it was 2 years ago at a retro game store where I bought a handful of loose Genesis cards for $3 a piece. After I got home, I honestly had no idea what it was. I mean, look at the card. About as helpful as Metal Gear Solid's cover towards pegging down what kind of game it is. Well, I popped in my console and I was greeted by the slowest text in the universe. Look at this! The next thing I noticed was the anime-inspired visuals and an attempt at an actual story. Moreover, the main characters' names, Yuko and Reiko, were actually Japanese. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, no shit, Sherlock, it's a Japanese game. Well, keep in mind, in the late 80s and early 90s, America was not kind to Japanese games at all. Many that had cutscenes had them either changed or removed completely, and any overtly Japanese names were usually changed to something more American. Like Yuko might have been changed to Jane, for instance. To find something from this era relatively untouched is really rare. The flip side to this is that the dialogue wasn't translated well at all, with more than a little English sprinkled in. So, to summarize this extremely long cutscene, Yuko runs into her friend Reiko, who tells her she's going away somewhere and doesn't know how long she'll be gone. After leaving, Yuko monologues to herself for a little while until the earth cracks open and the frickin' devil attacks Yuko. I mean, come on! Imagine if you're waiting for the bus, then suddenly fucking Lucifer attacks you. You'd probably need your brown pants. Anyway, just as it looks like Yuko and her short skirt are as good as dead, a sword falls from the heavens, and that's when our game begins. Oh, fuck yeah, I'm about to stab the shit out of Satan. Wait, where's the big hulking Lord of Darkness? Oh, I bet he's the level boss. Okay, well, let's get to it. The first thing I noticed is that Yuko can jump high as shit. Look at that! She can leap to the second story of a building. And yes, I know what you might be thinking. Maybe the sword increases her strength and speed and all that jazz. But no! In later games, she jumps exactly the same height without the sword. I know it's video game logic, but come on, this is a bit much. I guess we should talk about the gameplay. I liken it to a poor man's Castlevania. C jumps, B slashes with your sword, and A slides. Up and C does a high jump, and there's basically no reason not to use this all the time. So they really should have just made the high jump the normal jump. The sword really sucks at first as its hit detection is wonky. If you hit with the tip, it doesn't count. You have to connect with the center. Fortunately, you get a power up a short way into the first stage so your sword can shoot a projectile. And after that, you'll never need to worry about not having something to shoot from your sword. The slide is mostly useless. You never need to use it. Up and B uses a number of magic spells you gather as the game progresses. The problem is, often you'll be holding up to do a high jump, and need to attack immediately when you hit the ground, and accidentally waste a spell. There are a number of potential sword projectiles to collect, including a spread shot, homing arrows, and explosive balls. When you get hit, you fly backwards like in Castlevania, but at least there are very few instant death pits. In fact, there are in only one level. Yuko may jump like a WNBA superstar. Is that even a thing anymore? But she runs like that fat kid you used to know in grade school. Seriously, her default speed is way too slow. It's almost like running underwater, it's so bad. While it's an admittedly minor complaint, it still drags the fun factor down a bit. So we finally reached the boss. You better get ready, Satan, because I'm gonna... Wait. That's not Satan. Not even close. You don't do that. You don't put the fucking falling one in front of you, hand you a highly magical sword, and not give you the chance to stab him. Now I'm just disappointed. I mean, what a game am I going to have the chance to battle the Lord of Lies toe-to-toe?
This fight will be a pleasure.
Fine, I'll fight!
Battle 1. Fight!
Go down!
Excellent.
Huh. Who would have thought? Anywho, after beating this relatively easy boss, we get another long cutscene. A broad by the name of Valia, or in this case, Varia, explains to Yuko that she's a chosen warrior for Yin, and that she needs to free the dreamland of Vacanti from the oppressive reign of Emperor Roglis by collecting the shards of the Phantasm Jewel. When Yuko straight up refuses, Valia decks her out in female armor and the next stage starts. So apparently the armor that barely covers anything is enough to convince Yuko? By the way, poor timing considering the level is a snowfield. God damn, she's gotta be dying of frostbite out there. Here, have this barely existent armor and head into the snowy north. Fuck you, bitch! Anyway, the snowfield is when you start to notice that this game can actually look pretty good, especially the ice cave portion. The music and sound effects are mostly forgettable, but hey, not every game can be Chrono Trigger. After conquering the ice level, you find yourself in a fire level, because that's how old school video games roll. The music sounds like it was lifted directly from a hentai a la Blue Girl. I mean, watch! I also noticed a weird glitch in the slide that allows you to slide on thin air. That's right, Yuko is a physics-defying machine. After clearing the cliché fire level, you are transported to a really annoying bridge level. This is the only level with instant kill pits, and believe me, they're gonna kill you a few times before you master the jumping mechanics. Unless you're smart unlike me and simply slide across. Yuko's physics-breaking slide can cross the gaps here. After conquering that ordeal, you find yourself in some ruins. There honestly isn't much to comment on here, it's a really straightforward stage. Next you arrive at a forest, which only has 2 paths to take, but you'll end up taking the bottom path like everyone else. At the end of the stage, you're assaulted by another girl in female armor with a sword. A tip, make sure you beat her the first time, because if you die and your weapon power is reduced to 1, it becomes next to impossible to clear this boss. After beating her fine ass, believe me, it is, but we'll go into that in later installments, you get a long cutscene where it's revealed to be Reiko from the beginning, and she spends the better part of 10 minutes dying in Yuko's arms. You might get the impression that Yuko was in lesbians with her, and you would be right, but again, we'll get into that in another installment. Anyway, Yuko swears revenge against Roglis and storms his fortress. The level is straightforward, but appropriately difficult for a final stage. Roglis puts up a stiff fight, and is again one of those situations where you really have to beat him on the first try or else stand no chance. After his defeat, you see Yuko standing at the same spot she was in the opening cutscene, and thinks for a moment if it was a dream, but then notices Reiko's bandana and realized it definitely was not. She walks off and the game ends right there. Well, that was Valis on the Genesis, and while it was kinda mediocre gameplay-wise, story-wise it was very ambitious. Female protagonists, character deaths, and even just this type of storytelling wasn't seen outside of RPGs at the time. But, well, the Genesis version is held back severely by gameplay. Still, This wasn't the only port of Valis 1 that managed to get a console release, and we'll look a little closer to the series' roots next time.